This is just a quick video on how to set up a bass, and I'm using my Ibanez SRX690DX as an example. Now, the bridge is off right now, and the first thing when setting up a bass is people usually do it to set up the string height or there's some fret buzz. Now, with my bass, the reason I'm setting it up right now is because I had fret buzz on the first 3 frets, which means it was this fret right here causing me problems. Now, at first I thought, well, it might be an uneven fret, and what I would have to do is I would have to grab this and go over it once or twice to get it good. And this one actually had some dents in it. Will it focus? But I went through it with the file, and it looks kind of ugly now and all scratched up, but some metal polish or something like that will do good. I have something that I'll use. You can use whatever you want, but before I filed it with the strings on, I checked the neck angle, and it had a bow. And what that meant is right around this area it went upwards. Now, that was probably the main reason this was like that. Now, I am changing string gauge, so I have to keep looking, but I gave it some relief, which now means that the whole neck goes in a downward angle and then back up. Now, I have it pretty straight with a tiny bit of relief. You can have it straight, but with relief it gives the strings some space to vibrate around this area, and that's you don't need that, but it gives me some reassurance, so I like that. So before you decide to file anything or you want to do anything like that, make sure that you have checked the neck angle and you've adjusted the truss rod. If your truss rod doesn't work, I would tell you to go to a local guitar shop. Guitar Center maybe, but I prefer to help local guitar shops. And what they would have to do if you wanted to do it on your own is you would have to grab it, clamp it to like a table or a flat surface to fix it and put it in the right angle. That might not fix the truss rod, but that'll put the neck in the angle that it needs to be. Now, when you are setting up a guitar or bass, use a soft surface so if you're dropping or if you're moving it a lot, you won't bang it up, dent it or anything, because that's the absolute worst. That I would hate myself if I did that. Now, some other stuff. When you're setting up, make sure all your electronic works. That's main thing. Plug it in, make sure it all works. I already did that. I plugged it in. Also, when there's some fret buzz, people always go straight for the bridge. Here, I'll have it on. People always go straight for the bridge. Now, I have this off for a reason, but now these saddles only have one Allen key adjustment. That for me is easier. It lets me adjust it a lot easier than having 2. Having 2 gives you more option, but this is just easier. And simple, you tighten it, goes down, you loosen it, goes up. Also, if you're intonating, when you have the strings on, you go to the 12th, you make sure it's all in tune, it's perfectly in tune. Go to the 12th fret, and then if it's sharp, that means the string is too short. So let's use this one. If it was too short, yeah, you go back here and you tighten it so that this goes back and it makes the string longer and it gives it better in tune. If it was flat, it means the string is too long, which means you loosen it and this goes forward. Now, that's a main thing with intonating. Main thing people set up is for string height. Yeah, if your string height is super high when you buy a used guitar, this is a used one. That usually means there's some fret buzz around here. Check the truss rod. Don't hurry up and grab a file. If you are going to file some frets after you've done all that, this is a crowning file. You can find this at a hardware store. I bought this one online. It's a diamond fret file, and you know it fits it so that you don't damage your fretboard. Now, a main thing that people ignore when setting up is you have to clean it. Now, a lot of people take this advantage. A lot of people just clean it all the time. A good way to clean it is to do it when all your strings are off. Now, this fretboard is really dry. This is the first time I'm setting this up. I set up all my own guitars. I set up all the guitars in my band, all the basses in my band, which I am the bassist. And dry fretboard all over this thing, man. All over this whole thing. And there's also some dirt. Now, people ignore the dry fretboard. They're like, oh, it won't mean anything. You don't feel it. You might not feel it, but you'll hear it. The fretboard gives you some tone. If you don't know that, you don't know how to play guitar or bass. The fretboard gives you a lot of tone. That's where the strings are. It vibrates more, like as much as the body does. Now, you have to keep it in good condition, because if you don't, the tone goes out. It sounds bad. It doesn't sound good, that's for sure. And then you can clean all this, you know. I have the bridge off because it's very, very dirty. They sell stuff to clean it. I use Simple Green. It's a car cleaner, basically, automotive cleaner. You can use that. These are all clean. You also want to go inside here. Open up the 9-volt battery, make sure it's clean, make sure it's connected. It works, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go in here. I've not opened this yet, but I do have another SRX space, so I know how this works. I just need to see if it's clean. And if it's not clean, you just get an air can and you blow it out, or you can go do it by hand and pull out little pieces. I use a bandana to clean everything. And you get in there and I clean this up. And keeping all your stuff clean is a huge thing. Also, a lot of people, when setting up a guitar or bass, have the back pickup super high and the neck pickup super low. Now with humbuckers, especially on a bass, I leave them alone. They're a little bit lower than the fretboard, so obviously the strings will not touch this, and it gives it some good tone. Like I said, I have another SRX bass. If I wanted to adjust one, I can adjust one. Make sure if you do take off the bridge, there's this ground wire. That's to give rid of some of the hum. Just because there's humbuckers doesn't mean that there won't be hum. If you don't have this and it's not touching your bridge or any piece of metal, then you will have some buzz. And you can see the neck through bass. It's maple, babinga maple, babinga maple. It's a 5-piece. It gives it a lot of strength and a lot of the great sound, really. So I'm gonna work on this. Also, if you wanted to know something cool, the top, this is a quilt maple top on a, I'll show you it. This is a mahogany wings with, like I said, with maple, babinga, maple, babinga, maple, and it's a neck through. This is a, like I said, a quilt maple top. This gives you some tone. It's not always for looks. It might be hard to hear. It, you know, there already is maple on the neck, but this does give you some tone. And you can choose flame maple, quilt maple, this other stuff. It does affect your tone. For me, I like the maple tops better. They look cool. I love the sound of maple. I love maple fretboards, but this one's rosewood. And so, yeah, but you do want to clean all of your gear. I have this off because it's extremely dirty. I'm going to go on these tuners, clean this up a little bit. They're kind of loose, but once the strings are on, they'll be fine. And yeah, make sure all this works. Make sure your nut is in good condition. If it's not, you can either buy a new one, you can fix it up. I know Ibanez does have some. I know they have dealers that sell brass ones. I'm not a huge fan of brass on basses, but on guitars, I'm a huge fan of. But these are nice. I believe they're plastic or something. These are good. So take care of it. You know, setting it up, just because it can play well doesn't mean it'll sound good, because your wood does affect it. And if you do have some, you know, some fret dirt, I don't use steel wool anymore, just because it's a pain in the ass to take off all the stuff that gets collected on your pickups. You can use any kind of hard surface, just whatever works for you. It's not hard to find something that works. So I'm gonna set this up. I have another video setting up a Telecaster by Squire, and that's a guitar setup if you wanted to see that. So I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.